Hey, how's it going? My name is Weston Woodfin. I'm a graphic designer, motion graphic artist, and video editor. Today I thought it would be cool to take you guys on a tour through my iPad Pro to show you the apps that I use the most when creating work, designing, and just making cool stuff. The iPad is a super powerful tool, and there are a ton of apps that can help you on your creative process and your journey to making cool stuff. So I want to show you the ones that are my favorite, the ones that I use all the time, and give you a tour of those. This isn't going to be like a full-blown tutorial on how to use each of those apps. I may do a video like that later on. Instead today I'm just going to be showing you what's on my iPad and the apps that I use all the time. So let's take a look. So this is my 2018 iPad Pro. It is an older generation iPad, but it still works really great. I don't have any problems with it and I love using it. I also have the Apple Pencil 2. This is definitely an essential. If you're getting an iPad or have an iPad already, but you don't have the Apple Pencil, I highly recommend it. It just opens up so many possibilities and the capabilities of the iPad Pro. So for sure, if you're a designer, looking to do any sort of creative work, if you're a student, you need to take notes, you need the Apple Pencil. It definitely completes the iPad experience. So starting out, you might notice there's not a ton on my iPad. I like to keep it very clean and minimal and make sure I'm focusing only on the apps that I'm using when I get into my iPad. As you can see, I only have one page of apps. Everything else is kind of put in a folder and away. And then you have this dock down below, and that's where I keep all the apps that I use on a day-to-day basis. I will run through real quick the apps up here just so we can cover kind of what they are. The first one, top left, is Fantastical. Now, even though I don't open this app every single day, I definitely use it a lot because I'll get notifications. This is my calendar app. It's where it keeps, my entire schedule for my day, my week, my year, everything goes here. If it's work projects, personal projects, or, meetings, whatever it may be, it gets put into my Fantastical app. And Fantastical will, of course, send me a notification if I have something due that day or I have a meeting or whatever. Fantastical is really great. To the right is, of course, Yahoo Mail and Gmail. So those are both my work and personal email. So each morning, I'll get up, check my email, respond to email on my iPad. It works really great. Moving on, we have Photos, Camera, and Settings. I'm pretty sure everyone knows what those are. So we'll move on. Going down, I have a set of folders. Now these folders I created because there are apps that I have on my iPad that I don't necessarily use all the time, but I don't want to get rid of because I need them from time to time for small tasks. But we'll start on the left side. So this is a random folder. It just has all of the iPad's, random apps that come on the device, like the photo booth and the native mail app and the native calendar. I just threw those in there. Then I have a social folder. This is, of course, for my social media, and I just keep that stuff in there. Productivity is next. Now this is where I'll sometimes put apps that I'm testing to see if they work well in my workflow. And this is usually where an app will live that I'm like trying out and seeing if it's good for productivity purposes. Then I have files where, of course, I'll keep stuff, in OneDrive, so my files exist in the cloud. Sometimes I'll have files that exist natively on my iPad, or I will use a Samsung 1 terabyte drive and store files on here as well. Here's a tip for graphic designers. So this app right here, AnyFont, is really great. If you have a file with a ton of fonts on your computer, if you catalog all the fonts that you've collected as a designer, you can actually put those fonts on your iPad using AnyFont. I want to say it's like $1 in the App Store, but it's really, really worth it because, I have tons of fonts on my computer, and if I'm designing on my iPad, AnyFont allows me to have access to those fonts, so it's really, really great. Learn and Inspire is just where I go to get inspiration for different projects I'm working on. So you of course have, Behance and Pinterest. I have Skillshare on here too, where I'll go and, learn new things on Skillshare. Entertainment is just, YouTube, Netflix, that type of thing, if, I want to watch a show or something. So moving on, it's pretty empty other than the bottom dock. The bottom dock is where everything is that I use all the time. So we'll start on the left side. I have Safari, of course. This is my web browser of choice. It's where I go and, search Google, do that sort of thing. Moving on to the right, you have Spotify. If I'm designing or creating something on my iPad, a lot of times I'll listen to music, plug my AirPods, well, I guess not plug my AirPods in, but put my AirPods in and listen to music or a podcast while I'm creating. I think it really helps the creative process and workflow to just kind of zone out and zone into what you're working on. Next is Slack. Slack is a communication software. We use it for work when we're communicating about different projects or talking to coworkers, especially right now. While the majority of us are working from home, it's a great tool for us to communicate about projects. So if you haven't used Slack and your company is looking for a communication software, Slack is really, really great. Next is Procreate. Now, Procreate is the app that I use probably more than anything else on my iPad. Procreate is an amazing app for creating digital artwork. If you don't know what Procreate is, it's basically, I can go ahead and create a new canvas. I'll just show you real quick. Procreate just allows you to draw digitally and create digital artwork with different brushes and colors, and just gives you the ability to create all kinds of really fun stuff. Lately, I've been really focused on making these like collage pieces. This is typically something that people would do in Photoshop, something like Photoshop, but I've actually been able to pull it off in Procreate, which has been really, really awesome. I'll basically bring in images and create these collage pieces inside Procreate. And what's cool about Procreate is it's very like hands-on. You can like zoom in to what you're creating and really like get in there and like work on the fine details, which is what I really enjoy. An update that Procreate had fairly recently was the ability to do animations inside Procreate. So you'll have, things like this where they allow frame by frame animations, which is really cool and really fun to do inside Procreate. I won't get too in depth about everything in Procreate. There is like a lot to talk about inside there. So if you're interested in learning more about my Procreate workflow, let me know and maybe I'll make a video about that. So moving on, I guess we'll go on to the next app. I have Affinity Photo. Affinity Photo is basically Affinity's response to Photoshop. So Adobe has Adobe Photoshop, which I'm sure a lot of people are familiar with, and Affinity created a program called Affinity Photo. And Affinity is really great because it is very, very similar to Photoshop. And imagine Photoshop, but on an iPad. You can do a lot of the same things that you would be able to do inside Photoshop on your iPad, which is really amazing. What's great also about Affinity is you don't need a membership in order to use their program. It's actually just a one-time purchase. I want to say it's like $15. It may be more than that. I'm not sure. I'll have to look that up. But in comparison to something like Adobe where you're paying a monthly membership. But Affinity's been doing really great things, and I highly recommend trying it out if you have not used it yet. Moving to the right, we have a very similar logo, and this is Affinity Designer, which is Affinity's response to Adobe Illustrator. Affinity Designer allows you to create vector designs. So Illustrator is Adobe's version or way of creating vector artwork. Affinity Designer is how you can create vector artwork with Affinity. And what's great is Affinity Designer is on the iPad. You can get a desktop version as well, but their iPad version works really, really well. I'm not going to get too in depth on how to use these. If you guys want to see a tutorial on how to better use those apps, I'll probably create something like that later. So next we have Lightroom. Lightroom is probably my other most used app on the iPad. This is where I go to upload all of the photos I take. In my free time, I guess I'm somewhat of a photographer or an aspiring photographer. Wow, that was a mouthful. And I love taking photos, and what's great about Lightroom on the iPad is that it allows me to take my photos on my camera and then use something like a dongle. This is the Anchor iPad dongle, and I can just plug my SD card straight into here and upload my photos, which is really, really great. So here I can, catalog my photos, edit my photos, and then upload them straight to social media, which is awesome. In Lightroom, they actually have the ability to edit photos using presets. And for those of you that don't know, I actually created a preset pack of my own. If you're interested in downloading my preset pack, I will leave the link down below where you can go to my website and purchase that preset pack. It would be heavily appreciated. Lightroom also allows you to use my preset pack on the Lightroom mobile, which is really, really great. So Lightroom, super awesome. So I do have Affinity Designer, but I also really like using Adobe Illustrator. Adobe has Illustrator and Photoshop on the iPad, but again, you have to have an Adobe membership or an Adobe subscription to use their app. And honestly, Adobe Photoshop on the iPad is a little wonky and I don't like using it too much. But Adobe Illustrator is really great. It actually works really well for what it is. So this is just a look at a project I was working on for a video. For those of you that are familiar with Illustrator, it looks pretty similar to the desktop version of Illustrator and actually has a lot of the same functionality. You would think because it's a mobile version of a desktop app that you can't do as much, but that's actually not true. Adobe did a really great job making the mobile version very similar to the desktop version. If anything, they just made it a little simpler to use, which is great. So if you haven't tried Adobe Illustrator, I highly recommend giving it a go, especially if you're a designer looking to make vector artwork on the go. So next is an app called Brackets. This is a really great note-taking, story writing, script writing app. For a long time, I was using Notes, just like the regular Notes app to take notes and write scripts and stuff. But I needed something that had a little bit more power and a little bit more capability. So I found Drafts. And I'm pretty sure Drafts is free, but it does a really great job allowing just a clean space to write a script and put together a story or take notes, write a book, anything you want to do. I've been using it a lot to write my scripts for these YouTube videos, and it's been really awesome and has a ton of capability. Next is Things 3. So this is my to-do list, I guess. Every day I'll figure out what task I have to do and then create a to-do list essentially. And what's really great with Things 3 is the user interface is really nice. It's very simple, it's straight to the point. You make a list of stuff you have to do and then you can just check it off when it's finished, and then it disappears and you're good to go. I don't know, something about the user interface and usability of this app is really nice. So here in my to-do list, I have Create iPad Pro, Graphic Design, Apps, Video, and I'm just gonna check it off because I'm making it right now. So that's things 3, really great to-do list app. I want to say it's free on the iPad, but you have to pay to have it on your iPhone. I think, I'm not sure. Moving on is GoodNotes. This is where I take all my notes. If I have a meeting or a project coming up and I need to take notes, this is where I go. So there's kind of a competition between this app and Notability. And I have both of them. I have both Notability and GoodNotes, but for some reason I prefer to use GoodNotes. And I think it's because the way that the Apple Pencil reacts in GoodNotes. It just feels more natural and feels better when I'm like actually handwriting using GoodNotes. Another weird thing that GoodNotes does that I really enjoy is when you highlight stuff, it'll actually go behind your handwriting, which I don't think Notability does, and that was something that really bothered me. I don't know if they've fixed that or not, but yeah, I've just been using GoodNotes, and it's been really great for just jotting down quick notes, taking quick handwriting type things. So if you're a student or you're looking for a way to take notes for meetings or client projects or whatever it may be, I highly recommend GoodNotes. I think it's like $5 maybe, but it's really, really worth it. And yeah, so that's everything on my iPad that I use. These are the tools that I use for my creative projects on my iPad. If there's anything on here that you would like to know more about or get a more in-depth tutorial, please let me know. I would love to create more videos on using the iPad. It's an amazing tool and I have a lot of fun with it. But thank you so much for being here and watching this video. Hopefully this has inspired you to go out and create something on your iPad.